Jesus was not a carpenter. It is a commonplace today, even in scholarly writing, for people to take as an established part of our knowledge of Jesus that he was a carpenter. This attitude betrays a profound lack of critical engagement with the one and only narrative source that we have which can lend support to this view. The source of this assumption is at Mark 6:2, where Jesus is described as a tektón in Greek. All other extant accounts that agree with this, such as Matthew or the infancy Gospel of Thomas, are all so much later that they can only be seen to be building on a tradition that stems from Mark. The root of the Greek word is tekne, which means art, skill, craft, and work, and is also the root of the English words such as technique, technical, and technology. These are hardly terms that one would associate with what some academics even consider to be a common laborer. It is clear that the general approach to the translation of tekton has been strongly colored by a long-standing bias that, because he taught poor people, Jesus was also poor and therefore uneducated. The very use of this specific Greek word here is a clue for us to not accept this bias. There is a great deal of literary evidence to demonstrate that the designation tekton was used for a highly skilled craftsperson. In the Septuagint, for example, which was the most popular Greek translation of the Hebrew Bible in the 1st century, the Greek noun tekton is used to describe the generic shahrash, which is craftsman, and you can see this in Isaiah 41:7, for example. It is used to denote many different trades, including artisan in general, a jeweler, stonemason, engraver, and so on. It also appears qualified as tekton xylon, which is a word-for-word rendering of karash etzim, craftsman of woods, and that can be found in Isaiah 44:13, for example. In the narrative context in which it is used, it is not meaning a common laborer, but a prized and well-trained artisan whose work was considered of high value. The Jewish Bible historian Gezer Firmesh goes so far as to suggest that the New Testament description of Jesus as a tekton could indicate that he was considered wise and literate in the Torah. This is because the use of the word craftsman in the Talmud can signify a very learned man. Said Rabbi Joseph Bar Abba, people may remove worms from a tree or patch the bark with dung during the sabbatical year, but people may not remove worms or patch the bark during the intermediate days of a festival. But there is no craftsman, let alone a disciple of a craftsman, who can unravel this teaching. Said Rabbina, I am not a craftsman, let alone a disciple of a craftsman, but I can unravel this teaching. What is the problem anyhow? Taking from the Babylonian Talmud to support 1st century attitudes is a slight stretch here, considering that its compilation is much later. There is, however, more substantial evidence to support Firmesh on this point, because this same connection between the craftsman and the spiritual master can be found more broadly in both the Hebrew and Egyptian cultures. There are many allegorical passages in the Hebrew Bible that compare the refining processes of the spiritual walk in a proto-alchemical way with the smelting cauldron of the metallurgist. And you can see this in Jeremiah 6:29 and Ezekiel 22:20. The precedent for this imagery can be traced to the early chemical and alchemical experiments of craftspeople in ancient Egypt. Firmesh's interpretation is also supported by the actual context where Jesus is described as a tekton at Mark 6:2-3. When the Sabbath came, he began to teach in the synagogue, and many who heard him were amazed. Where did this man get these things, they asked. What's this wisdom that has been given him? What are these remarkable miracles he is performing? Isn't this the craftsman